Hello and welcome to another episode of Elevation Cast. I'm joined today by Graeme Tennick of Tennick Accountants. Myself and Graeme actually have a go way back. We've known each other for quite a number of years, although haven't had a chance to catch up in this recent few years. Really looking forward to this conversation. I know there's a lot of great stuff that's been happening with you guys, and I'm excited to kind of get a few of the stories for our viewers. If you could, first of all, Graeme, just give us an introduction to yourself and Tennick Accountants.
Yeah, so first of all, hello again, Aidan. It has been far too long. I'm pleased we've finally got this sorted, so thank you for inviting me onto this. Now, I could do the stereotypical introduction in terms of what we do, but there is a bit of a clue behind us. But what I'd like to do is do this a little bit differently. So imagine you're in an elevator and you ask me that same question, because if I go the stereotypical and say, yep, we're an accountancy firm, that conversation in an elevator tends to be pretty short, pretty sharp, and they leave at the next floor. So what I like to describe us as being is we change lives. We change lives by helping business owners find answers to questions they never thought to ask. We do this by bringing numbers to life. We do this by helping people influence in the future using numbers rather than just report the past, to realise their potential, to live, lead and leave behind a life which to be proud of.
Nice. That's a brilliant answer. Yeah, 100%. It's one of those, and I think it's there's a whole misconception that accountancy can be either a dry subject or accountants are only there to do VAT returns and end of year tax submissions and the likes, but it is far bigger than that. And I think business owners that utilise their accountant to their full capabilities often grow much faster. They can often scathe the bad times much easier. Yeah, I'm sure what's your kind of journey of accountancy been in terms of? Well, I'll tell you what. So when did you first get started with Tennick Accountants, and where did that come from?
Yeah. So my passion, and again, I'll get this out there from the very start, is not numbers and isn't accountancy either. It's neither of those two things. My passion is business. My dad, also Graeme Tennick, if anybody looks us up on LinkedIn. And he has actually got two profiles because he set up one and set up another and doesn't know how to get rid of the first one. So just in case you're looking, it's genuinely, there's two of us. My dad's Graeme John Tennick, I'm Graeme James Tennick. But my dad had a forklift truck business, and I just loved business. That was really the passion for me.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to be part of that entrepreneurial journey via my dad from a young age. He set up in 1981, successfully exited his business to a name-listed business. And I was part of all that. So from the point where I would go in on a Saturday morning, be given all the sort of crap jobs you can imagine, be it cleaning toilets, painting floors, to in time working a little bit on forklifts here and there. But also I'd seen the social aspect whereby I'd go out to meetings, be it with him or with other members of the team. And particularly my dad always went to meetings looking to make an impact. He wanted to make a positive impression. So be that the receptionist when he first walked through the door, be it the cleaner, be it the shop floor worker, be it the MD, looked to make everybody feel special and always bring a smile to people's faces. Like, I love that. I didn't realise how much I did love it at the time until later on in life. And then he had the corporate seats at Newcastle United when Newcastle were doing really well. Again, touch wood, they're still doing well now, long way after. But I was fortunate enough to go to the match with my dad. So I was always, when I was at the match, I was surrounded by business owners of various ages, industries and backgrounds. And I found it fascinating. I just fell in love with it. But I fell in love with business, not accountancy. But I thought, right, obviously I was getting to A-level term. I was like, where do I go from here? What do I do? And I thought, well, business seems a bit generic. And I could have went into my dad's business, but I'd said relatively early doors, I said, you built this, I'd like you to get the benefits from it. And I want to make a name for myself. We're already called the same name, but I haven't got the same passion for forklifts what you have. I'd like to do my own thing. So I fell into accountancy. Yeah. Did an accountancy degree, worked at a firm called Gilpin Harden on the Team Valley, where we were about 15 staff there. And I progressed to just beneath partner. I was never going to go any further. Left there, went to PwC, a couple of years there, went to the council for a couple of years, and then we set up back in March 2012. So yeah, we are into our 14th year there now. Wow. So it's been a journey.
Absolutely. I'm sure those 14 years have vanished before your eyes, and
as has my hairline. Yeah. So, yeah. When you first met me, I had a lot more hair than this, Aidan. So.
Well, I've got a contact for that. It's a friend in Turkey. So.
I'll make you in touch outside this call.
Absolutely. Amazing. It's always good to kind of understand people's background, because I think it is a running theme after having quite a lot of conversations with people of different backgrounds that they never set out to create the business that they're in. it's often either through adverse conditions. Maybe they've lost a job, they've been made redundant, and they've just needed something, and they just thought they'll give it a try. Or, as you say, the passion was elsewhere, but they've just fallen into something, and before they know it, it's kind of 3 or 4 years down the line, and they realise they're actually quite good at it. So, yeah, I find that business owners, the perfect business plan doesn't really exist. There's not many people that can say they know exactly what they want to do, exactly how they're going to achieve it, and they just follow this straight line of success until they reach that goal, because it's just not real world, practicality. It is an absolute tornado.
It is, and sometimes we shield ourselves too much from life's experiences and don't take that chance to take a step back and reflect. So there's some people that are, as you say, accidental business owners. Some people sadly become the boss they once hated. So They'll do a job and say, I absolutely hate this, then go and start doing the job they hated, but nobody to blame other than themselves. So there's those stories. But when you sort of take a step back and reflect on specific things which have happened, which then shape where you go going forward, and where you are capable of going forward, it's fascinating. And even now, I still relate back and have to remind myself of that's why that was the case. So it's like some of my early memories from a business owner's family's perspective is my dad missing meal times and bedtimes because he was obviously trying to develop and grow the business and give us the life which we could really get, but that meant he couldn't always make those special occasions at school, couldn't always make the meal times and bedtimes. And I've always been super close to my dad. I was lucky enough that I was close to my mum and my dad, and I still had that relationship. Some of that was because of the sport I played outside of that, which obviously weekends-wise my dad was around. But like those little bits now, like I've got a young family, I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old daughter. I'm a big advocate of trying to give business owners the choice. So like if you want to build and grow your business, that's absolutely amazing. You can go and do that. But also if you want to be there for your kids, you can equally as much do that as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's
absolutely.
something else to really kind of give people the choice. Because COVID accelerated for me, and I was like, I'm going to take my kids to school at least one day a week.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. So, little simple moments like that have a lasting impact on children's lives. It does. It's they don't realise it, but eventually they will. Eventually they're going to look back and go, I know what it feels like to be working full time and, trying to feed my own family. And I can understand what my parents sacrificed or the effort they made to make sure they were there for us and grow businesses at the same time. You're totally right.
And some of it as well, and again, it's just my thoughts on this, somebody might say otherwise, but I think the biggest present you can give any person, I'm not just talking kids, I'm talking loved ones, friends, whatever, the biggest present you can give anybody is to be present.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Because it's, when all's said and done, it is those memories that are the ones that last. You don't look back and remember all those late nights in the office that you spent. You don't think about you did those extra hours or that overtime work because you needed to hit that certain goal. You remember the times that you spent outside of work with friends and family and enjoying life. And I think that's a huge thing. I think work-life balance it's a strange one at the minute. Certainly I find, because it's such an important aspect for all people that are in workplace to have. But I have also noticed a lot of the younger generation talking about work-life balance before I really feel like they know what hard work can be. I've had it in myself and my own businesses with the younger staff that will only work a certain number of hours, and you offer them the extra hours and they refuse it, but because they were like, which is fair enough. I guess everyone's got their own prerogative. I sometimes worry that maybe people are trying to talk about work-life balance before having to sacrifice that make a bit of a sacrifice.
But one of the things, and I think this goes from a personal level to a business level, is the fact far too many times we assess our success against the expectations of others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big frustration of mine. So like when we first set up the business, I knew what the goal was. I knew what I wanted to do. So I made it very clear in my own mind. I was like, right, okay, by the time I get to this age, this is what the position I want to be in. So I've got a train line of it. And basically, at the age of 55, I want to be in a position to retire,
Yeah.
financially and operationally. But if I do work, I want to work out of choice rather than necessity. So
Yeah.
I had, at day one, I was like, right, okay, that's the end goal, our provisional end goal. Then what I do is I reverse engineer everything back to say, okay, this is the life I want to lead living up to that.
Yeah.
So every year I've got a vision board of what I'm ultimately trying to build.
Yeah.
That's my roadmap. And again, it won't all be plain sailing, it won't all go according to plan. But that's my roadmap, and then I reverse engineer it. So when it comes back to business plans, life plans, fitness plans, whatever that is, I feel like, well, first of all, make a mistake because we use other people's expectations and measure against that. It's like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
So if we actually define ours, but if we start with the end goal first and then reverse engineer it, it's a lot easier. And then once you've done that, you chunk it.
Yes.
So you say, right, okay, right, the end goal might be this, but then chunk it and get held accountable against it.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what tangent here, but like from my first day in work was I modelled what success looked like, and I continuously, every single year, and I try to do the same with clients, if they'll enable us to do that, and say, right, okay, let me ask you 3 questions. The 3 questions we are asking business owners we work along with is, number 1, what does success look like to you personally 12 months from today? Number 2, what does success look like to you in business 12 months from today? Number 3, what does success look like to you with regards to this working relationship, business owner and accountant 12 months today, and how will you measure the impact?
Yeah. And have you found that the answers to those questions have changed over the years? Have you seen, has there been a shift in how business owners kind of not necessarily communicate or how they perceive accountants to be? Because I feel that accountants are becoming much more, there's a certain criteria of accountant that wants to be more than just an accountant. They want to be someone that can advise on business almost and help to strategize and help to be a part of that growth plan. Have you found that that's something that more and more people are adopting, or what's your experience with that been like?
Well, word of warning, Aidan, I'm going to go off on one here, so I might just have 20 minutes about this.
Go in.
So, and you inspired part of it when you were saying before you get married later on this year. When you're choosing your accountant, it's like choosing a business marriage. And it should be that way. But that question you were saying, has the answers to those questions changed? We've only really started improving our questions over the past 18 to 24 months. So the answers are varied. That's the first thing I'd say, and I'll come back with a bit more context to that in a second because I want to give a bit of background to the profession. The firm I first worked in was one where the relationships was like that business marriage, but it was a business marriage with tools far different to the tools we have today. Like at that stage there, everything was largely manual. You could check in whenever you wanted. You could feel really close. But ultimately, the resources you had and the data you had was often sat in multiple different places, be it a filing cabinet here, a computer there, and so like it was as proactive as what it could be, but it was led by the conversations rather than the data. So when I first set up Tennick Accountants back in 2012, we replicated that model, but obviously there was cloud-based technology there, which means everybody can access the data at the same time. You can access some amazing data, but we still deliver at that point in time a compliance-based service. And a lot of firms are still doing that today, and it frustrates the heck out of me because by delivering a compliance-based service, particularly with the technology then and the technology now with AI coming in, you completely and utterly go against the relationship bit because the relationship bit's only as good as the conversation it's had, but there's no great data there. It's reactive rather than proactive. It's reporting the past. It's not influencing the future. It's not allowing you to coach, guide, and support people. It's just very static. Now, being static, and again, this happens inside and outside the accountancy industry, by being static in its nature, what you end up doing is you totally and utterly commoditize the industry. Because if you're doing the same as the next 10 accountants, the only differentiating factor is price.
Yeah.
And then it's a race to the bottom. But how we got there, so we started off, as I said, replicating the model I had been trained in at Gilton and Hard and what I'd seen since then, but I hadn't realised how far technology had come on. So we started with that. We then recognised, there's some great technology here, let's get on board with that. So we invested in that, did some things extremely well, did some things extremely badly. We then thought, right, okay, this is a way to leverage relationships. So we started leveraging relationships better, and we won the 2020 UK Digital Account of the Year award, and it was amazing. Then COVID hit. So it was like, okay, right, we're going to have to, the model's more about protect rather than grow. But again, the relationship allowed us to get closer to clients. And at that point there, we started structuring our support packages. And like I said, we've really refined them heavily. And again, I'll tell you more about the wall in a little while. But we started structuring our relationships to start asking better questions, to start tracking those answers, to start influencing and being more proactive in supporting people, realise their potential, realise the goals they were set. And that's where we are now, which allows us to completely decommoditise what we actually do. Now, granted, any other firm, any other accounting firm out there could do exactly the same as us, but they're not me and I'm not them. Like, somebody's going to connect with them and not connect with me. Somebody's going to connect with me and not connect with them. Well, that relationship bit, I actually think in business, things have gone full circle. The technology opportunities out there at the minute are incredible. They can generate some amazing efficiencies. But specifically the accountancy space, I think they're going to go one or two ways. They are going to either be a burden to relationships or going to be a leverage for better relationships. And we're very much in the trajectory of making them better relationships so we can speak based on better facts quicker to, like I say, influence the future rather than report the past.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. It's there's too many accountants that kind of, I don't want to say, sit back and take a paycheck, because it's not. That's not fair. But there are a lot of accountants that could be a bit more hands-on, and they're not. And I think there's been times where, certainly from speaking to other friends in business, just around accountancy in general, there's a few out there where they'll just send over the VAT returns or the end of year accounts just to be signed, and they don't really want to have to explain it in any detail to them. They don't want to have to sit there and spend the time trying to talk to that business owner about their business and what their business is looking like 6 months from now if they continue on the same trajectory. And I think it can be quite lazy, but I think they just want to be there to, essentially, they've done their job. That's in their eyes, they're like, well, that's what the client pays us for. But there's so much more that they could be doing to help those clients out.
There is, and I'm trying the right word for it. I feel sorry for the profession. I really do, because, and I've got a lot of sympathy for the generation of tomorrow, because I think a lot of the skill sets are out of sync with what people really need now. Not what they want, but what they actually need. Mm-hmm. So to start with the accountancy profession, we are trained badly because we are trained to think logic first, emotion second. Well, how do human beings behave? Does emotion come first or logic?
Emotion.
Exactly. But we got away with that for so long because we were trained that way. And the amount of respect and everything, and I did a talk on London about this, the amount of respect and everything which accountants had at the time, they could command a good fee, already had a solid relationship with regards to clients. So the margins they were making were great. Whereas now technology's come in, business owners are confused about what the role of accountants is.
Yes.
So all of a sudden the assessment of accountants far too often is based on tax. Well, nobody set up in business to save tax. Saving tax is never going to change the world. It's not going to change your life or mine. It's not. It's misleading.
Yeah.
The profession is now having to retrain itself and re-educate and guide those people that engage with us to recognise the fact, guys, we could just be a ticky box function, which for a long while, technology, because we've always been capable of more, but technology's restricted what we could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now it's like, guys, we're capable of so much more. Please engage with us. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, the skill set, like, see, my skill set comes from a business perspective. Some of my team have come from care homes, pubs, medical centres. Like, they haven't always come from the stereotypical route you would expect from an accountant. Pretty much everybody in our team has got either directly or indirectly a relative that has or has had their own business.
Yes.
So the skill sets and the training which we put into that and the recruitment aspect is very different to what once was. So these skill sets of emotion first, logic second, naturally don't just come via the studies, because the studies are and the exams are done the way they've always been done.
Yeah.
So, and then the skill sets in terms of the type of people that go into accountancy are only gradually starting to change to have that relationship where they're more engaging and can feel comfortable and confident enough to ask a question you might not know the answer to. So again, naturally, when you're in a job, particularly early stages, you'll relate to this, Aidan, when in the early stages of any job you've ever been in, you almost feel a little bit nervous being asked a question which you don't know the answer to. And that's the key bit about when you're coaching business owners, you've got to be comfortable with that. And say, hey, look, I don't know, but this is what we're trying to seek to find out. So let's go down that path to really explore that. But this comes back to the second point, which I just briefly touched on there before, is I fear with the generation of tomorrow, or some of the communication skills which came maybe second hand to you and I when we went through school, are those being lost. Because my idea of a Saturday afternoon was playing football in a random park with random kids. And I'd have to go and knock on me mate to try and convince him and his mum that it was a good idea to come out, even though he had his homework, doing all this sort of thing. So the negotiating skills was going on.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Now, people are maybe going to send a text message or a WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And then what they're going to do is they're going to be gaming rather than going out on a football pitch or going out and about. It's just that. And then, like, schools-wise, education's changed that. It's like that whole challenge and, like I say, kind of mental strength and challenge and resilience to those bits isn't happening naturally because people's lives have changed. Now, granted, people are coming with new skills, which are absolutely amazing. I'm excited to see those coming through.
Yeah.
But that communication bit is just kind of lost. And that's what I fear for the accountancy profession. Because if we behave like a robot, AI is going to ensure that we're going to be replaced by one.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's you know, the power of AI is phenomenal, and you know we're barely even scratching the surface. But you are right. It's the thing that AI won't replace, other than, you know, potentially trades, jobs, is the professions where there is a bit of critical thinking and not just taking the average of what the information it's being fed and spitting out an answer. It's someone that's really got to think outside of the box. And if accountants are doing that, and again, you can only have that from experience. You know, you've had it with maybe you've had it with other clients, you've had it yourself in your own business, whatever that might be. Business is not just a straight line with a simple answer. It's often you've got to think 2 steps ahead. And just taking the most obvious route doesn't always lead to the success you're looking for. You've got to have contingency A, B, and C. And like you say, if accountants are just doing the whole ticky box thing and they're not really helping businesses to forecast and strategize and plan, you know, those accountants, they could quite easily be replaced because they're essentially they're almost glorified admin.
And there's a perfect storm happening at the minute. And again, this is happening outside of accountancy as well. But there is a global resourcing issue in the profession. So people are struggling to attract and retain staff. But in my opinion, and based on what we've done, there's 3 things which can very quickly improve that. Vision, values, purpose. If you have a clear vision in terms of what you want your firm to be, it might not be it today, but if you've got a clear vision as to what you want your firm to be, if you've got values which people can feel aligned to, and a purpose for which they can feel like they belong to, it will massively help you attract and retain staff. But if you have commoditise your industry, and again, let's use the accounting profession for this, and you're struggling to attract and retain staff, then that relationship is never going to get better, and it's just a vicious circle of like, I haven't got time to do this, that, and the other, so I'm keep doing this, and it's just fighting a never-ending battle, and you're in such a part of the profession whereby it's dangerous, it's scary, and the 3 goals which people seek when they have their own business, time, money, freedom, you end up losing on all 3.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're completely right. So, and again, obviously, with accountancy, it's an ever-changing landscape. You know, don't need to tell you that it's forever changing. How much demand is there on you guys, or how much time do you guys spend trying to keep, you know, your finger on the pulse with what's upcoming or what might potentially come? Because there's always Chinese whispers and hearsay of what's going to be announced in budgets and legislation changes, and so how do you kind of deal with that, and how do you then communicate that to your clients?
So, there's a few different parts of this which is probably worthwhile highlighting. The first thing is, and it's not that contentious, but I pretty much don't watch the news.
Yeah.
It's a starting point.
Nice.
It's just full of negativity and rumours. And particularly from an accounting perspective, there's so much stuff which is said, which has just no relevance, and it just absorbs energy and just brings negativity. I know the channels which I need to go down to find out what I need to find out ahead of time. And when I say the channels, I'm talking my professional body.
Yes.
I will read news newsletters from my accountancy body, but I won't be watching BBC News, Sky News, or even go on a news-related website. I might catch in the car, but that's about it. So we professionally have certain standards we need to maintain and hours we need to invest in terms of training, but that all comes from structure. But what I do with the training is the same way as I support clients. So when we are picking the training, I always have purpose/impact driven training. So what I mean by that is I'll say, right, okay, I don't want to, I don't want to go and just commit and say, right, we're going to do 40 hours worth of training this year, because flip now, I could do 40 hours worth of training across so many areas. I'd rather go and do training around an area that interests us, lights us up, and is going to be beneficial to clients. Like there's certain things, like accounts, we're going to do that. Tax, we're going to do that. But I'd say, you know what, we're going to do succession planning. Or we're going to do exit strategy. We're going to do this. might do a mental health piece. So we always have an outcome/impact driven approach with regards to our training and how we support clients. Hence, this is our impact tree, which, like I said, I'll come back to a little bit further on down the line. So our training is done in that way. Now, by doing it in that way, you approach it and assess it in different ways. Like, right, okay, I can see the value of this. So you go in there and say, right, okay, I can see what I'm going in for, I can see what I need to bring out, and I can track how that works further on down the line. So by having that, that's how we keep up to date with regards to those aspect of things. But if I go back to, and like I say, you're going to notice a consistent word I keep saying, structure and accountability here. We are an extremely structured firm. I'm an extremely structured person, insofar as every year I choose a word that I think would best summarise what success looks like in my eyes for that year. So my word for this year is focus. So focus is my key thing this year. I then segment that down into what I'm going to start doing, stop doing, keep doing, do more of, do less of, and do something new. And I do that on a business and a personal level. So I track that, I'm held accountable against that, and then that feeds into everything which then follows, so I can see how the year progresses and the impact we make. And we do that from a training perspective, we do that from a client perspective, we do that from an overall firm perspective. Now, by having that there, that gives us the opportunity to, and it comes back to points before, to have our finger on the pulse, but the right person's pulse at the right time. Otherwise, the pulse is what the press would have you believe is the thing you need to go and do, or what the next fancy bit of software up there would have you believe is the next thing to do. Where it's like, actually, hang on a minute, what are the facts saying? And like you say, we've got so much data. I mean, we say we're drowning in data or information, but starved of knowledge. Yeah. What's the data telling us, which we can translate into knowledge to take some better, quicker actions, and then we frame it that way? Because it's so evident, like you say, we've got so much at our fingertips. But if we just use sales for example, Daniel Priestley's quoted, and again, it makes a lot of sense. Have you heard the term?
I don't think so.
So 7-4-11 is allegedly now, if somebody's willing to buy from you, it can potentially take up to 7 hours worth of content across 4 different platforms and 11 touch points before they say yes.
Right, okay. Interesting.
It's meant to be a similar stat just for somebody remembering you.
Right. Yeah, I've heard something similar in terms of the amount of times people need to see marketing material before it registers within their brain.
And it's crazy, and this is the world we're in there now, where we've got this data, but if we can just focus in on it, hence the choice of the word focus, if we can focus in on what really matters to us personally, what really matters to us, and focus on that in business, we can live, lead, and leave behind a brilliant life. And it just comes from formulate that plan, track against the plan, and see the results thereafter. So anybody that's watching this and they've got my Facebook profile, they will see in December I will always list out and share pictures of the 10 things I'm proudest of having achieved over that calendar year. And that'll be business and personal things. So I've always got that result at the end of the year to prove what I've done in the year to make sure the year was a success. Yeah.
Yes, it's so important, isn't it, just to kind of reflect. And I don't think people do it enough, but having something to work towards, but then also taking time to give yourself credit and looking back and being proud of what you have achieved. So we can get so caught up in the next goal and the next ambition, the next aspiration, that we don't actually give ourselves enough credit. And I think that's where sometimes people can get frustrated, and if they're not achieving something they want quick enough, they can start to almost get this bitterness or this resentment, and they're not actually focusing on how far they've come already and giving themselves credit for what they have achieved. Because if they did, they would be maybe just a little bit more, I don't want to say grateful, but maybe a bit more proud of the position they're in, rather than comparing it to where they're not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And there's 2 key things off the back of something you've said there. So I'm doing a program called The Strategic Coach with a guy called Dan Sullivan.
Cool.
It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. And the difference it's made for me and those people we are supporting now is unbelievable. But he's written a book called The Gap and the Gain. I thoroughly recommend it. Another one of his books, 10X, is my favourite, but The Gap and the Gain is also excellent. The Gap and the Gain speaks about what you just said there before. Why people focus too much on the gap without appreciating the gain.
Yeah.
It's like if you always focus on the horizon, you're never going to get there. You're always going to feel a bit like, Whereas if you
Yeah.
realise, yeah, but look at how far you've come, like that's incredible. Like in terms of, like,
Yes.
you're never going to get, you can always kind of aim for that. You're probably never going to hit the horizon because it doesn't exist. But if you always just first start with what you've got, then frame what you're going to do ahead, it's a completely different perspective. And this comes back to the retirement bit we briefly touched upon before. And again, I'm going to reference Daniel Priestley because he came up with a brilliant expression. So I'll lay no claim to this being mine. But people often focus on doing all these things today to live and lead a lovely retirement. Now, again, I
Nice.
know, touch wood, health is getting better for people. Hopefully, we're going to live longer. But what about all that life before then? And he changed the name retirement, I love this, to inspirement.
Nice. I
And
like
if,
it.
and if you flip the narrative around, rather than feeling it's a hard stop, which often is really unhealthy for people, and as far as you're working whoosh, and you've lost
Yeah.
your purpose, and it's like, what the heck's kind of going on? If you lead it towards a period of inspirement, which all of a sudden inspirement then comes a little bit closer because it's not an age dictated by the government.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
It's
so
like,
true,
oh,
yeah.
I feel inspired to do this. Might be a little bit of charitable work. Might be a case of doing something different in the business. Maybe there's so many things. But if you live for an inspirement related goal, I think
Yeah.
it's just completely different.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. It's having that positive outset, or outlook. Yeah, I can really relate to that. That's brilliant. Is so just talking a bit more about Tennick Accountants specifically. When you kind of get, I know you've got clear ambitions and goals, which is amazing. When you get to kind of 14 years, the common trap that a lot of people fall into is the whole complacency thing, and
Yeah.
I think you've got it absolutely nailed with knowing exactly where you want to be and when you want to be there. It's so important. But what kind of things are you? So what are the goals for Tennick Accountants? Let's start there. What is the aspirations? What's the next big goal? What is it you're trying to achieve?
So the end goal, like it says, 55. I'm 43. I was 43 as of Friday. Don't send a card now. It's fine. I don't. We're 4th of July. Born on 4th of July.
There you go.
So 12 years I've got to the point whereby I need to be in a position financially and operationally to be able to retire. So that's there, that's been there. And like I say, I'll still work, but I'll work out a choice rather than necessity. So that still exists. Over the past 12 months, I've been working really hard to try and get the business to a point whereby structurally it was a lot less reliant upon me and I was largely redundant. But there's various bits to this. So I've got 3 heads of service. They've also got shares in the business. I gave them shares post-COVID because I'm not building this for me. I'm building it for us as a collective team. I'm actually a team of 10 at the moment. So what we've done is, and like I said, then I'll say what's to come, is things such as this. We are constantly refining what we do. We're not looking for a brand new way of doing things. We're just looking just that 1% marginal gain. This is David Braille's fad, the 1% sustainable growth. That's what we're looking for. So the trees on the back here, we've got a client impact wall which is behind us. We've got our firm impact wall which is round just there. We've got like a team impact wall downstairs. So what we are doing is we are tracking the impact. So these cards behind me are cards where at the end of the year, the client will write on it. They will write on there what impact we've made when it comes to time, money and freedom. They will write how it's made them feel. They'll write what's next. And then they sign it, the team member signs it and we date it. Nice. So that's what we're doing there now. Because again, it's all good and well asking these 3 questions, but if you never do anything with them, what was the point of asking them in the first place? But we've got tangible things which the clients are happy to share and write on the wall. And they're not putting monetary figures or anything confidential on there. They can if they want to, but we don't encourage them to. But then they are writing some things. I mean, there's a client impact card here. Somebody said, you don't realise the power of that conversation we had 12 months ago. You challenged me on my goals. As a result of challenging me on my goals, I went away feeling a little bit uncomfortable. It's like, 12 months on, they have 6x'd their goals.
Wow.
Absolutely smashed it. And do you know what it is? They are not even a client. It was one conversation.
No way.
Yeah, touch wood, very soon to becoming a client. But it was just one conversation. And that's where our line of Tennick Accountants is changing lives one conversation at a time.
Yeah.
And that's the bit which is now starting to be. The next year ahead is the next iteration of the business being less reliant upon me, but scaling. So we want to treble in size within 3 years.
Is that revenue-wise?
Everything.
Or, everything, employees, revenue.
Well, actually, I take that back. It's revenue. They won't all go up 3 times, but revenue will definitely go up 3 times. Bottom line will go up more than 3 times.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's things we're doing which allow us to do it. Because we are not a volume-based business. I'm not looking for 3 times the volume of clients.
Yeah, okay.
We don't need that. We're not we're not that sort of firm.
Yeah.
We only want to work with the right sort of people.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
'cause again, if we do it a volume bit, we'll kind of change lives one conversation at a time because you won't have the resource to do it.
Yes, yeah.
But we want to make bigger impacts. We want to track and achieve bigger impacts. Because our whole 360 vision, which we are refining and doing more and more with there now, is number one, make our lives better. Number two, make clients' lives better. And number three, make the world a better place.
Yeah.
But we are
Nice.
tracking everything, but we're going to scale everything. That's what we're just scale. We've got a really good model. We're
Yeah.
not going to miss some laurels. We're not going to get complacent, but we are just going to scale that. And there's
Yeah.
little tweaks we're making. This room now is, I won't, people get dizzy if I start showing the room, but this room is about creating the environment so people come in here and feel like it's the environment for them to progress, for them to realise their potential. And this was literally just finished off just before Christmas. It's been a 2-year project.
Right. Wow. Amazing. So obviously I understand the kind of maximizing the current clients and really trying to grow with them, but in terms of new clients and how do you go about acquiring new clients after 14 years? Do you have a strategy for that, or is it just word of mouth? Or
So I've got the best tool I've got, which helps out massively with this, is my business canvas model. If anybody hasn't got one, go onto Google. You can get free templates. Do your own business canvas model. If you do your business canvas model, you'll start off, and there's better directions online than what I can cover in the entirety of what we're chatting about there now. But you start with your value proposition. So think about the elevator speech I started with when I introduced myself. From there, you then go and have a look at your different channels, your different partnerships you can set, your finances. It'll just give you direction towards the various routes you might go and achieve what you want to achieve. But I want to go back to something I said before, which adds context to value proposition. I know the life I personally, and I don't mind saying this because this isn't selfish, this is just being honest. I know the life I want to live and I want to lead and I want to leave behind. So I'm married, I've got a 10-year-old daughter, I've got a 7-year-old daughter as well. There's things I want to do with them over the next few years, and I've listed them out, what I want to do. That adds strength, it adds credibility, it adds meaning to what my value proposition is off the back of it. So go back 12 months, I want to take the kids to Florida. Everything was aimed at making sure we went to Florida. Before that was about going to Lapland and taking them to see Santa. Hopefully there's no kids watching this. But wanted to take them whilst they're still in that moment. But that added strength to the value proposition for us, and then framed my efforts and gave more meaning behind the routes we went down. So I have a one-page marketing plan. Ford Henderson, I don't know if Ford's listening to this, he should be. If not, we're going to prompt him after this. Ford will love this. I've got a one-page marketing plan where I track my marketing metrics to see what is working, what isn't working, and why.
amazing. Yeah.
So, because what might work now might not be working next week. So it's not a thing where I'm just going to go at that all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So it might be a case of the channel works, the message doesn't. Might be a case of the channel works, the message does, the timing doesn't. There's so many bits to this, but by just having a starting point in terms of a consistent approach, be persistent and relentless with it, gives me insight to think and be better in the knowledge I need to deliver better to my family, to me, be a better version of me, help them be a better version of them. But also, whilst doing this, I need to give the team the platform for them to do the same things. Because I want them to live and lead a better life as well. This isn't all about me and me taking it all. It's the complete opposite. We need to win together. In order for them to do that, we've got to have clients winning. Because if clients ain't winning, we ain't going to win.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's got to, it's got to be from front to back. Everyone's got to, work together. It's all got to. It's like a well-tuned engine, isn't it? So, is that your kind of role within the business then to kind of do, like the business development, drive the business forward, or do you have other people, employees that is their purpose to get new clients on board?
So with the team themselves, I have, and again, people say it's a cheesy title, but I love it. I am the Chief Impact Officer, and I say that's
nice. I like that.
Yep. Chief Impact Officer. Not CEO, nothing like Chief Impact Officer. I am seeking to make an impact for me, an impact for the team, an impact for clients, and an impact for the wider world. That is the bottom line. That is my role. I have heads of service. So I have a head of bookkeeping, accounts and payroll. I have a head of tax, and I have a head of advisory services. The head of advisory services could almost be reframed to be head of impact. Oh, I might use that one. I think Lisa would like that. So those three guys there have got shares in the business.
Yes.
We will, what we grow and what we do, they will share the rewards with regards to that with me. Because that's really important in terms of doing that. Now, Lisa in particular, she is more on the impact side of things, so most closely probably aligned with me for certain aspects. But then when it comes to events and the business development stuff like that, that then spreads across a number of people in the organisation. So our newsletters I don't do, they're done downstairs by Serene in Georgia. They lead on those. When it comes to events, we recently did the UK Startup and Scale Up Week, a week-long event in Sunderland, and that was pretty much the whole firm went across various days, went across and kind of contributed. I personally think business development, yes, it should be led by a certain person or certain people because it's more within certain people's comfort zone than what it is others. But I personally think everybody has a business development role. Now, that might be a case of, like on a football pitch, might be a case of you provide an assist to somebody else, but don't just watch the ball go by.
Yes. Yeah.
It might be a case of you score the goal, amazing. It might be a case of you pass it back and say, oh, not quite sure. But I think everybody has a role when it comes to business development and sales and marketing. And even if it's just I always say business and conversation is like an onion. You've got to peel back the layers.
Yeah.
Even if your role isn't primarily the sales and marketing aspect side of things, it might be something whereby you learn something about sales and marketing, which you then reframe and have a better conversation with a client you support. It's like, oh, well, I know Graeme and some of the guys are doing this. Have you thought of that? Oh, no, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, yeah, I mean, again, I can put you in touch with them. We're going to have a better chat, but they're doing this. Oh, it's really good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly. It's as simple as that sometimes, isn't it? But it's people do. I think everyone does. It is important for everyone to kind of take some responsibility in and pride as well in promoting their business. It doesn't matter if it's theirs, they work there or whatever. They should want to kind of talk about it with pride. Do you know what I mean? They should be proud of working at that whatever that business is, and trying to bring friends and family to become customers, I think is something that we can all do. It's not a difficult side. They don't have to actively be out there all the time, but I think it's within everyone's best interest for businesses that they work at to grow. So,
but this comes back. But this comes back to some of the key and basic ingredients of any business. So like you say, that the vision, values, purpose should be the bedrock of any business.
Yeah.
So having that so people feel aligned to it, it's like, okay, I understand the vision, I understand what we're building, I relate the values, and I feel like a sense of belonging with a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing, rather than it being dictatorial and just like, oh, you must do this, that, and the other. And obviously, well, you want to know why?
Yeah, of course. 100%. So something I found really interesting, I've got to kind of quick reference back to it, was just about your marketing plan, your tracking. So it was like a one-page marketing tracker.
Yeah. So I just built it from scratch. I just literally set up an Excel spreadsheet, and I just thought, right, okay, where does most of our work come from? Or where would I like it to come from, this new thing? So I just put different sections on the Excel spreadsheet. Again, if anybody wants a copy of it, I can share the template with anybody. I can email it out, absolutely fine. I can send it you in and you can push it out. But I just thought, right, this is where most of our work comes from, or where I'd like more work to come from. And I just kind of segmented it and just put those sections in. I was like, right, okay, let's focus my efforts across these areas. So say like events, I've made a very strategic effort to do events. Why do I want to do events? I want to grow awareness. So with every event that we've sought to do, I've went into it with a goal. Now it's a goal which is reasonable enough to be within my control. So like if I said, right, okay, I'm going to go and do Friends of the Firm, and this who I've known a long while, Mark and Lorraine at North East Expo, fantastic event. If I went to that event and said, right, okay, I'm going to get 10 new bits of work from that event, it's a bit of an unfair goal.
Yeah.
As with any event, the same with the Start and Scale Up Week, it's an unfair goal because it's very difficult to do that. To get 10 new connections, that's doable. To get 10 meetings in the diary, that's doable. So then what I've got a goal with every event I've been to this year, and we've hit every single one. I then list out what's went well and what we could do better.
Yeah.
So I then take that into the next event to learn the lessons from that and track our impact that way.
Nice.
So it's nothing overly complicated, but it's just something to say, right, okay, well, let's learn off the back of this. But also, like there's certain bits, if I go onto social media, sometimes LinkedIn, I'm working alongside Michael Hopkins and Andy Hill, and Andy Hill is just a genius when it comes to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But like, I'm chatting to him and he says, look, sometimes you've just got to realise you could push 7 posts out. You might kind of have 3 that do amazing, 4 that do crap, and you just don't have any rhyme or reason for why that's the case. But he said, that's just what it is. But at least if you push 7 out rather than 1, you've got a better chance of nailing it.
Yeah.
But there is certain basic things you want to do as part of it. But that whole inquisitiveness in terms of learning, but then tracking and refining, is just in every part of our business to kind of just really push us on and keep progressing and making sure we don't stagnate.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're completely right. You know, it's things, and I think we're all guilty of it, is feeling like we're too busy working in the business to actually track efforts. And don't be wrong, you know, in the early days, it is just fighting one fire to the next and trying to wear every hat in the business, and it is relentless and it's gritty, it's unpleasant at times, it's stressful. But if you're not tracking your efforts, and you're just kind of sticking a finger in the air, and you can just assume that it's working, and you'll go to every event possible, and you go to every networking group, and you'll talk to 100 people, but if you're not actually tracking where that's, is that converting to meetings, are those meetings moving forward, you can just end up being a busy fool, and busy fools burn themselves out quite quickly.
Yep, and I've been there in terms of having done that. And when you are at that point where you haven't got the time to invest in the business, you're just working in the business, well, you've got to ask yourself, are you an employee or are you an employer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as simple as that. Eventually, you've got to accept you can't do everything on your own. You've got to ask for help somewhere, whether it be on the financial side, the marketing side, the actual day-to-day admin or running of the job. You get into business to be a part of a journey, and that journey involves growth, and it often means bringing other people into that business, whether it be through partnerships or relationships, professional relationships, or employees. You can't do it on your own. It's just impossible. Brilliant. So I tell you what, there's always one question that I really like to end on, which is, and you can have a think about this, if you could give one piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur or someone that's just got started on their business journey, what would that advice be and why?
Okay. I would say define the end goal, structure a plan to achieve it, and ensure you're held accountable on the journey towards achieving it. Now, but defining the end goal is really important, because a lot of people will define the end goal, but not everybody. But we can very quickly lose sight of it. If we don't build a plan towards helping us achieve that end goal, well, then it just gets forgotten about and you've got less likelihood of achieving it. If you build a plan and are held accountable, then at that point there, and the saying I use internally is, you either win or you learn. You'll only lose by taking no lessons from experience. But if you have an end goal, have the structured plan in place for how you're going to go about trying to achieve it, and are held accountable on the journey, you will win or you'll learn, but I promise you'll be better and you will progress.
Nice. I like it. Well, a brilliant place to end. And yeah, just want to say once again, it's been brilliant and long overdue catching up with you, Graeme. Hopefully we'll get together for a coffee at some point in the future and talk in a bit more depth about certain elements we spoke about today. But just want to say thank you so much for your time, and I'll put your Tennick Accountant social media tags within the comment section. So if you got any. If you want to mention your tags now as to where people can find you online, is it all just Tennick Accountants?
I was going to say, jump on our website, tennickaccountants.co.uk. If you want to connect with me via LinkedIn, LinkedIn is where I am most active. Connect with me on there, send me a direct message. I've got so many free resources I'm more than happy to share, because I'm a big advocate of giving people a platform to grow and to feel like they've got the support there. So just reach out to me directly via the website, via LinkedIn, and I will help wherever I can. To help more people like you, if you're listening there now, realise your potential.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Graeme. Well, I really appreciate it, and look forward to hopefully having a catch up again at some point in the future.
Thanks for having us here.